Now, my first instinct is this question is going to be kind of hard because the answer choices look a little long. Well, let's see. Main purpose. In many agricultural environments, the banks of streams are kept forested to protect water quality, but it's been unclear what effects these forests may have on stream biodiversity. To investigate the issue, this biologist and colleagues studied an Indonesian oil palm plantation, comparing the species richness of forested streams with that of non-forested streams. So comparing forested, non-forested. These people found that species richness was significantly higher in forested streams, a finding the researchers attribute to the role leaf litter plays in sheltering fish from predators and providing food resources. So definitely one of those science passages, but rather than worry too much about the experiment, let's just go to the choices. We're trying to get the main purpose. I guess the main purpose is they did some sort of experiment and they found some information from the experiment. So let's take a look. A, it discusses research intended to settle a debate about how agricultural yields can be increased without negative effects on water quality. Well, maybe the settle a debate thing is okay because it does say there's kind of something that's unclear what effects the forests have on the stream biodiversity. So maybe that's a debate. But is it about agricultural yields? I don't think so, right? They're talking about the forested and non-forested streams, and then they're talking about species richness. They're not talking about how many vegetables they grew. So it's not about agricultural yields. That's like the crops that are grown and have you produced more or fewer crops? No. And the water quality, right? I guess that's, up here they do talk about that. It's unclear what effects these forests may have on stream biodiversity. So the stream biodiversity is maybe the debate. I don't know. This just feels like it's all over the place and just kind of mentioning a bunch of related words. So no. B, it explains the differences between stream protection strategies used in oil palm plantations and stream protection strategies in other kinds of agricultural environments. Other is one of those words that always stands out to me when I see answer choices because I have to really ask, is the other that they're talking about in the choice the point of the passage? They're not comparing the palm plantations to other kinds of farms. They're just using the palm plantation as an example. That's just happened to be where they did their experiment. They're not saying that that's better or worse than anything else. So yes, this passage is talking about comparisons. You can see I underlined the word originally, but it's not a comparison between palm plantations and other kinds of farms, other kinds of plantations. It's some other comparison. So this word other really stands out to me because I can ask, is that the thing that this is about? It's almost like when, we talk about the main character sometimes. The main character of this passage is not different types of farms. So this is just wrong. C, it describes findings that challenge a previously held view about how fish that inhabit streams and agricultural environments attempt to avoid predators. Is it about the fish? No, not at all. It's not about the fish being hunted by predators, so no. D, it presents a study that addresses an unresolved question. So this is kind of back to where I said settle a debate. What's the unresolved question? The unresolved question is it's unclear what this is going to do to stream biodiversity. So, okay. And so it's an unresolved question about the presence of forests, right? Forested, non-forested, forests along streams in agricultural environments. So yes, it does. Notice though that choice does not get into the result of that study. It doesn't talk about what they found and what that might mean for, future studies or whatever. Basically, I'm thinking that they could have taken this passage and written one of those logically completes inference questions or what supports or weakens the conclusion kind of questions about this exact same passage. And that would have been way more detailed of a question because we would have to think about how this study works and whether what it's showing us and what would support that study versus weaken that study. We would have to get into more of the science underlying this passage. But choice D is kind of leaving all that out. And this is why you don't want to do more work understanding what you're reading than is necessary, right? I can always go back and understand the science more deeply if I need to for the choices, but I get to the end here and I don't need to understand it. I just need to understand that science is involved, not what the specific science is, right? It does talk about an unresolved question. There's something that's unclear, right? We're matching that word to here. And then the presence of forests, right? Forested versus non-forested. And yes, along the streams, they talk about the streams. It's an agricultural environment. That's kind of where we let off. So all these pieces check off. Proof is there that it's right. But The other choices I think are doing what a lot of science passages do anyway, which is they're using a lot of technical terms to kind of overwhelm you and make you think it's more complicated than it is. So my advice is, this is why we do dumb summaries. Keep it simple. And then you could always add to that summary as needed as you go through the choices. But you don't try to do a lot more work understanding what you're reading that might not even be necessary for answering the question.